Somalis and Turkish, two communities who are distant from each other geographically and culturally worlds apart, but recently they are being bullied together by shared economic and political interests. No wonder it is not the first time. The relationship goes back hundreds of years, farther than the nation-states of Somalis and Turkish. The bond traces back to the 16th century. Then the Ottoman Empire extended a significant assistance to the Adal Sultanate in its fights against the Abyssinian kingdom. At the time, the Adal Sultanate, the biggest kingdom in Somalia, was in monumental struggle against the Abyssinian highlanders. Ahmad ibn Ibrahim al-Qasi, better known as Ahmad Gurey, was one of the most celebrated leaders of the kingdom. He turned the tide against Abyssinia after a series of defeats that brought the Sultanate to the brink of disintegration. The strategic partnership with Ottoman Empire significantly contributed to his success. In 1531, at the head of the largest army that the Sultanate ever mobilized and the firearms from the Ottoman, the Imam embarked on the invasion of Abyssinia. Eventually, he will conquer 2/3 of the kingdom. However, the success did not last. After soundly defeating the Portuguese forces that aided the Abyssinian kingdom, Ahmad Gurey made the biggest mistake in his career. He sent back the Turkish experts, and the remaining Portuguese and Highlander army defeated him in a crucial battle. He was killed at the battlefield. The Abyssinian king regained the land he had lost. That was when the Turkish were distant allies. Centuries later, they came back and landed in the coastal town of Berbera. They set up a short-lived administration that nevertheless left a legacy on the land. Some of that is still standing and in use. In 1546, when the Ottoman Turks occupied Berbera, establishing a modern port was among their first positive projects implemented. In this vital strategic location, which still remains the most important places of the Somali Peninsula, this port helped the Somali community to have a great influence on the global waterways and the geopolitics of the region, which later led to the arrival of the British and Soviet, who started the port's facilities upgrading and patronizing. But now, that port has been turned into a tiny fishing port which is used only by a small scale of fishermen. This is the tomb of Sheikh Yusuf ibn Mama, a great Somali saint who settled in town before the Ottomans set up an administration in here. He was leading authority on Islamic jurisprudence and Sufism. Oral traditions have that he was the last arbitrator and reference on Islamic issues for the community. This is not only the last resting place for the Sheikh, it is a sort of museum that preserves the Sheikh's memorabilia and artifacts from his time. It is also a teaching center that still produces the disciples of the Sheikh to this day. The shrine is managed by the Sheikh's descendant, who is called Sheikh Hassan.
Tan dhalinyarada ama xerta Sheikh Maxamed Rabiuddin ee kamida ragga wax ku akhrista waxna ku akhriya.
First, I want to tell the public that I'm one of the students who graduated from this place. So, I'm a product of this place.
Ibn Mama ama Sheikh Mama oo aad ugu magac dheer yahay oo Sheikh al-Beledka magaalada Berbera ah inankiisii sideedaad baan anigu noqonaya. Waa awowgeygii toddobaad isaguna.
I am also one of the descendants of Sheikh Yusuf ibn Ma'ma. The Sheikh was my great-great-grandfather. Because of your visit, I want to elaborate more about the history of the Sheikh. Indeed, the biography of him cannot be finished in short of time, but this recording film will serve as just a reminder. The Sheikh was one of the greatest clerics of his time. He was a teacher who taught on Islamic subjects. He taught in different places, including Harar of Ethiopia, Mogadishu, Somalia, and the last day of his life is settled here in Berbera, called Bandar Habas. Near to Batalale Beach, the city was not bigger at that time. The Sheikh hailed from the Somali clans in Ethiopia. Sheikh was from Harar, Ethiopia. It was the Somalis who hailed from there.
waxaa kaloo ka mid ah allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad saxib muqdisho lafteeda in badan buu wax ka akhriyay oo uu sheekhul cilmi ka ahaa.
Sheikh Yusuf bin Ma'ma has other shrines around the globe, including Istanbul of Turkey. According to Sheikh Hassan Sheikh Nuh, he said he saw the shrine in Istanbul with his own eyes. The shrine also produces students as this one here in Berbera.
waqtigaa jirtay sheekha oo ka soo talaabay markaa ka yimi xaggan iyo Ethiopia. Somalida Ethiopia degta buu sheekhu ahaa.
Sheikh Hassan gave me an access to the library of his great-great-grandfather. There are still hundreds of books from that time at the library. Sheikh Hassan informed me that the collection contains invaluable manuscripts that predate his ancestor, Sheikh Yusuf ibn Mama. There are even some papyrus manuscripts that have not been dated yet, according to Sheikh Hassan. The shrine also preserved less glamorous artifacts that Sheikh Yusuf ibn Mama audit. They include an ablution container, a dagger, and the cooking pots. Sheikh Yusuf ibn Mama hailed from Harar, Ethiopia, and traveled widely to preach Islamic teachings. He later settled in Berbera, where eventually he died. The Turkish administration honored him with this shrine. When speaking of the long-standing history between Somalis and Turkish, it is surely important to look at this mosque. It is almost 150 years old and was built by the Ottoman Empire. To this day, it is where the community perform their daily prayers and one of the historic sites of Berbera. The architecture of this mosque is completely different from all other mosques in the town. During the construction, workers are said to have lined it up all the way to Dubar to fetch stones.
qoraal laga sameeyo wixii taariikhda aasaarta qadiimka waa munaasib oo de maadaama aan qoraal ugu imanin inagu wixii aan soo gaadhnay iyo wardhagoodka wixii aan ku helay.
Indeed, it is better to record our history. We should not be for oral society. We must be able to record and keep it.
xataa munaasabadaha inagu aynu leenahay in da'yarta loo qoro qoraal lagu sameeyo. soo jeedinaya talabaadna waxa kale aan soo jeedinaya qolada taraakida lafteeda.
Yes, we have little primary sources from history, whether it's for written or any other means of keeping history. We need to make that happen now for our coming and present generations.
waxaan leenahay waa wixii ay u qabanayaan waa alxamdulillah Soomaaliyeed u qabanayaan.
Secondly, it is common thing that the Turkish people always pay visit to their legacy historic sites. Though they don't come often here in Somaliland and spend time in Mogadishu. But the truth is that 7 or 10 of their legacy in Somalia communities can be found here in Somaliland.
Berbera ku yaala iyo meelaha kale ee qadiimka ah ee aasaarta Cusmaaniga ay taallaba.
I will have advised them to come and visit these sites, including these mosques built by the Ottoman Empire.
Billahi ta'ala taraaki in fara badan ma soo booqata laakiin feedback wax naga soo noqda ma jiraan. way yimaadaan wasawiraan wax alla wax ka soo noqda.
This is also Dubar, the source of water for Berbera. The short-lived Turkish administration in the town significantly increased the water supply of the town. It is even said that it was the first time fresh water was so apparently available in Berbera. The pipes from that era are still in use and bring fresh water to the city. I met Duale, a local elder and folklore historian. He had much to say about the history of the aqueduct, stories passed on him by elders.
halkani waa biyihii dubaar ee ay berberi ka cabaysay ilaa taariikhdii Tukriga.
This is Duba water source of Berbera since the short-lived of the Turkish administration. We are standing in the center where water comes together, as well as where the main pipe water which goes to Berbera starts from.
Deelu ka dhigayo ceelashii Tukriga. Biyihii ka soo baxayay baanu dul taagannahay. Waana goob taariikhiya oo la daa magaalada Berbera.
Exactly here is where the Turkish administration used to fetch water from, and it is a very historic site which is as old as the city itself. The pipes from the era are still in use and bring fresh water to the city.
Halka beebkii Tukriga qayb.
There are two main pipes from Duba which bring fresh water and installed by the Turkish administration. One had been renovated and made little changes, and the other one still remains the same. This is historic. The city almost used what the Turkish administration left behind for them. These waters do not need to be pumped by machines. They are aided by gravity, and that is how the Berbera city receives water now. The pipe, also installed by the British, was replaced into a new plastic one. These waters do not stop in 24 hours and eventually delivered to the city by large pipes.
afar iyo 24 saacadoodna oo bab male way socdaan har iyo habeen waxa weeyaan hadee beed maayo saasay magaalada ku waraabinayaan.
Hassan Ali Ibrahim elaborates on Dubar water source, its components and its long history impact for the Berbera community.
iyo siday kala yihiin waxa weeye ceelasha Dubar waa 13 ceel bi ka kooban ceelasha nimanka aynu joognaa ee Dubar.
Let me try to explain about Duba water to you. The exact number of groundwater and how they function. Duba water has 13 wells. The Turkey administration constructed all these water wells, and the Britain came later. There are two main pipes from here to the city. All were installed by the short-lived Turkey administration. And the Britons, who came later, played also a role in the city to get fresh water. What is unique here is the gravity, a water which does not need to be pumped by any machines. Allah has blessed with this water in this Berbera city. There are 7 other wells, whose little far away from our current location. The city experienced different foreign administration, including the Turkey administration and the Britain. You can see the beauty of this place.
Defense is unessential to any new administration. Here's where the Turkish wanted to assert their domination over the area. The authorities of Berbera city permitted us to visit this historic site. When you come to this place, you immediately figure out the wisdom of choosing its location. It is much higher than the rest of the city, making it easier to see any attack from any direction.
waxaanu taaganahay imika aalqadii daarta ahayd ee uu ka ilaalin jiray biyaha gidaarkeedina waa kaasoo daldaloolkii.
We are at the Turkish fortresses in Berbera, where they used to monitor the security of Dobar water and the region. You can see the holes for the defense security operations. This building intended to enhance security defenses by the Turkish.
daldalool buu leeyahay daldaloolka wuxuu ugu talagalay wuu ka shiishi jiray qoryaha wixii soo galay aaga biyaha dee markaa soo hujuumadii ayuu halkaa ka difaaci jiray.
This place is very strategic location for the military as of the time. It is easy for the army to monitor the entire region successively and prevent enemy attacks, and that was the main agenda of the Turkish government.
wixii cadow hadee soo galaya uu ka ilaaliyo uu ka difaaco waana gidaarkii waa kaasoo uu muuqdaa daldaloolna wuu leeyahay daartina waa gudaheeda oo waa naga imika ku tiirtiirsan.
The historic relation between the Somalis and Turkish is revived by the current president of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. His 2011 visit to Mogadishu has evaporated the horrific claims of Mogadishu being the most dangerous city in the world. Immediately, an economic, diplomatic and military cooperation grew at an accelerated pace. Thousands of Somali students went to Turkey for higher education in the last decade. The country is also the #1 destination for the Somali health tourists. Turkish products, clothes, furniture, to television shows have also found a market in the Somali community.
In Djibouti, there are many military bases and other offices for different missions from China, Japan, France and others. Turk also want to be a part of that game. Turk targeted Sudan and invested Soma airport construction in Khartoum. And it also runs the Suwakin port investment from Qatar, but Turk monopolizes it. In Djibouti, Turks have their economic zone. In Mogadishu, they have an Al Bayrak group which manages the Somali port in Mogadishu. Vafori company also is present there, running the Mogadishu airport. Turk also has it is largest and biggest military base beyond its borders in Mogadishu. They have also Erdogan Hospital for humanitarian assistance to the Somalis there. Those issues caused and triggered Turk to be present in the Horn of Africa and also to get some consensus from the Somali people through humanitarian. This was caused by Erdogan's visit to Mogadishu in 2011 through humanitarian issue. When Erdogan arrived in Mogadishu, he wrote an article called "The Theories of Somalia," that triggered and mobilized the world community to assist Mogadishu and the Somali people who were starving in Mogadishu. Those are the things that caused and triggered Turkish presence in the Horn of Africa.
La
In the aspect of security and military capability building, Somalia has been struggling for the past 30 years to have enough functioning troops to maintain stability inside and across the country. Turkey possesses of largest overseas military facility built and managed by Turkish government in Somalia. This military base, which is called Turkisom, was formally inaugurated in Mogadishu in September 2017. It can train and house approximately 1,000 soldiers at a time, and over 10,000 Somali soldiers are expected to be trained at the base. This military base is also intended to train the regional country's forces in the future. Since the renewed relations between the two countries, the Turkish government trained a large number of Somali National Army forces, including the highest-ranking military generals, in areas such as planning, tactical, and battlefield operations. The Turkish government trains in particular the special unit of Gorgor, or the Eagle, that's leading the charge to defeat the terrorism menace and to prevent future attacks against civilians and government officials. Equipping the army with military uniforms, weapons, and building their morale is what makes Turkey different from other countries that train troops for Somalia. Each soldier who completes Turkish military training is given his own weapons and uniform. The developmental cooperation between Somalis and Turkish is multifaceted. This includes social, economic, and infrastructures. In partnership with the Somali government, Turkish officials have also launched various development and infrastructures projects in Somalia, including the construction of high-standard roads within and outside the country's capital. Sometimes the Turkish workers of these roads face security challenges. Some even died in these attacks, while others were flown to Turkey for treatment after sustaining severe injuries. The Turkish government accentuated that these attacks will never stop them from their commitment to repel Somalia. They have equally assisted in the building of several hospitals and helped renovate and rehabilitate the Aden International Airport and the National Assembly building, among other initiatives. Reports show that during the drought of 2011, Turkey contributed over $200 million to the humanitarian relief efforts in the impacted parts of Somalia. It is the only non-regional country that has opened consulates in Somaliland and has regular humanitarian contributions throughout its aid agencies such as Turkiye Diyanet Vakfi, Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Agency, Turkish Red Crescent, and AVAD.
We are not working only for Somalia. We started a campaign for Somalia, for Yemen, and for South Sudan, because as the East Africa, they need support and they are regionally affected.
In the education sector, the Turkish government offered scholarships to thousands of Somalis. Some of them have now returned to their countries and are contributing to the social and political development sectors. Turkey has introduced its schooling systems in Somalia and Somaliland, which has also refurbished what was then known as the Polytechnic School of Somalis, as well as supported a good number of other schools in Hargeisa and Porama, Somaliland, for the benefit of those who do not receive opportunities for scholarships. The rebuilding of Mogadishu Airport and the launching of direct flights by the Turkish Airlines have resulted in many people and international flights to make their choice on landing and departing at Mogadishu's Aden International Airport. The port of Mogadishu is the most places reworked by the Turkish government, which feeds millions of people in the country. World ships were afraid to dock at the port of Mogadishu, but when Turkey renovated and modernized it, many international ships have begun to dock at the port, which has added value to the economic growth of the city. In the political turmoil of Somalis, many countries have been blamed for being part of the Somali political crisis. Many political gladiators in Somalia are believed to interface or peer forth foreign agendas and interests, but all consider Turkey as neutral entity and politically unbiased. This relationship that flourished in the span of a decade makes many people wonder whether this type of friendship was the nudge Somalia needed for recovery, or is it a surrender of national sovereignty to a foreign power for expedient assistance. Turkey has become a major influence on Somalis in recent years, both politically and socially. Many Turkish names have become popular in the Somali communities, and Erdogan is the most common name.
In Turk, especially in the big towns in Ankara, which is the capital city, and Istanbul, which is the commercial city, Somalis started investing there through buying homes, starting small businesses there, and this caused a lot of Somali diaspora to shift to move to Turk and send their children for nurturing there. According to my findings, from my research, which I conducted, why the Somali diaspora shifted to Turk, titled The Experience of Somali Diaspora Migration to Turk as a third country destination. They preferred it to Turk because of religious issues. They mentioned it that Turkey is a Muslim country which you can access to mosques, Quranic courses, among others, as well as the cultural issues. And they said that the culture is somehow similar despite some variances. They also preferred that the life in Turkey is cheaper than the other countries, and more importantly, education, because they said that liberal education, some unconscious things that Somalis cannot relate, have been started in the schools as young as primary schools, so they prefer to shift it to Turk. So the relationship between Turkish and Somalis is going in a fast, and majority of Somali products, especially clothes and dress as well as furniture, are dominating the Somali market now.
Somalis and Turkish are two communities that have close ties and common ground for the past centuries. It is a long and arduous social journey that seems to have once again come true, and this is the new beginning of a new history and a new direction, not only for the Somalis and Turkish, but also for historians to take their pen again to pass on a renewed perspective to their future generation.